Schools will open for all students next year, but as the governor said, instruction will look different. Virginia schools are required to deliver new instruction to students for the 2020-2021 academic year, and some of that will happen in person, and some of that will happen via remote learning. Virginia's return to school plan aligns to the governor's reopening phases within the Forward Virginia Blueprint. It scales up opportunities for in-person instruction beginning immediately. It focuses on the health, social, emotional, and physical well-being of our students and staff, and it prioritizes the needs of our most vulnerable learners for whom in-person instruction is most essential and remote learning was the most difficult. This approach is equity-focused, but moves us to the end goal of safe in-person instruction for all students. So to reiterate some of what the governor already shared, in Phase 1, which begins immediately for everyone, but obviously many of our communities have moved on to Phase 2, special education and childcare for working families can be done in person. We've heard from our community significant concerns about the needs of our students with disabilities and the need to get those students back into their services and programs immediately. And so that's allowed in all schools. We move to Phase 2, where the programs for students with disabilities and childcare for working families is expanded upon with options for preschool through third grade students, English learners, and summer camps in school buildings. And again, we wanted to focus on getting education to our earliest learners because of the challenges that they were facing in the remote learning environment, while also making sure that we could keep them safe. In Phase 3, all students may begin to receive in-person instruction, but it must be accommodated within strict social distancing measures. So this will likely require staggered schedules and innovative approaches to the way that students come to our buildings. And we are all looking forward to the day that we're on beyond Phase 3, resuming to a new normal and having all of our students in buildings every day. The phases provide maximum flexibility at any given time and apply to both public and private schools. It's important to note that schools may be more limited in their in-person instructional offerings than the phase allows. So it allows flexibility for school divisions to put in more stringent measures as they need based on the conditions in their community. Before entering Phase 2 and 3, every school in Virginia must submit plans to the Department of Education outlining their compliance with the VDH and CDC mitigation strategies. The Virginia Council for Private Education, who's here with us, will receive plans submitted by private schools accredited through the VCPE-approved state-recognized accrediting associations. But all of those health-related plans will come to the DOE, and we'll work closely with VCPE on those for private schools. Our public schools will also be required to submit a plan for providing new instruction for all students in the 2020-2021 academic year, regardless of phase or their operational status of the school at the time. Most of the state has entered Phase 2. Richmond and Nova and others are still exceptions, but Phase 1 is relevant for a few jurisdictions now and would be relevant if we move back to a more restrictive environment due to public health conditions, so we wanted to make sure you knew about Phase 1 as well. But that means that most school divisions will move to Phase 2, so I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on each phase and then wrap up and turn it back to the governor. In Phase 1, again, instruction is predominantly remote. However, exceptions will be made for schools to offer in-person instruction for students with disabilities. Schools may elect to provide extended school year services and school year special education services, including private placements with strict social distancing. Students will only attend such programs if the individualized education program team agrees it is appropriate and the parent consents. Then we move into Phase 2, where we still have predominantly remote instruction. But in addition to the Phase 1 exceptions, schools may offer those in-person instruction for pre-K through third grade students, English learners, and permit summer camps to operate in school settings. It's important to note that in Phase 2, large group gatherings are limited to 50 people based on the governor's still existing executive order. In Phase 3, schools may shift to in-person instruction for all students, but with those physical distancing measures in place, staggered schedules and alternative blended options for remote learning will be important for students. In all phases, schools are expected to follow the CDC school guidance strategies for protecting the health of staff and students, cleaning and disinfecting, ensuring physical distancing, limiting the mixing of groups and students, and implementing mitigation strategies. But this also means that remote options must be made available for students and staff who have complicating health factors and who are safer at home. So all schools must have a plan for those students and staff as well. The physical distancing strategies include, but are not limited to, 6-foot physical distancing between desks, workstations, teachers and students and other students to the greatest extent possible. Restrictions on mixing groups of students or classes of students. The combination of those measures will likely necessitate staggered or unique schedules. Closing or staggering the use of communal spaces, including cafeterias, so students may have to be served in their classroom. As the governor mentioned, daily health screenings of students and staff. The department will be providing guidance on those. All schools must provide those remote learning exceptions and teleworking for students and staff who are at higher risk of severe illness. The use of cloth face coverings by staff is required when 6-foot social distancing cannot be maintained. For students, face coverings are encouraged but not required as developmentally appropriate, and especially in older students and in settings where students cannot maintain physical distancing. Again, this guidance applies to all of Virginia's public and private schools. More detail will be available in the coming days. I will share the Department of Education has produced Recover, Redesign, and Restart. This is nearly a 126-page guide that will go to our school divisions today and be posted online that schools can use to assist in their planning for opening schools under these phases. We find that this document, we believe that this document is comprehensive. It's been informed by a diverse set of education stakeholders, and schools should use it in their planning. It was created with the guidance of numerous task forces, dozens of teachers, principals, parents, education leaders, superintendents that came together to make this possible from every corner of the Commonwealth. We are confident that this additional guidance will help schools as they develop plans. We know there will be lots and lots of questions on the school opening plan.